There we go. Okay.
Great. Perfect. Okay. Now we're cooking. So thank you again for inviting me to talk to your group and tell you all about Destination Imagination, which I'm terribly passionate about, as you'll guess, as we go through this. Has anybody other than Andrea heard about the program before? Okay. We have been in BC for a long time, since the late 1990s. So we've been around, but as you know, parents come into the school system, they may not have heard about it, or your school system hasn't participated, or school district hasn't participated. So this is a wonderful program because it teaches children how to think, but not what to think. So it's open-ended learning, it's questioning, it creates collaborative teams of students who work together on creating a solution on a challenge that they choose for themselves that suits them. So it's creative, it's imaginative, and from the end of it, it teaches kids how to be resilient, how you go through the creative process to create something new and fresh, how to be innovative, and how that process actually works. Tons of skills that are excellent for today's world and the world that our kids are going to get into. Can you switch to the next one, please? So this is kind of one of my favorite little lines, that you're not just a teacher, you're an awakener. So you're here as parents leading the teams, or as teachers leading these teams. It's really about awakening kids to their own power of thought, how they learn for themselves, and how they translate that into an actual project and product. It's really amazing when you watch this disparate group of kids come together and create what they create at the end. It's really quite outstanding. Next slide, please. It's great, I hardly ever have helpers. So it's just all of this. It's challenging, it's getting kids to think in a different sort of a way, imaginative, solving things, problem solving, how you get along as a group, how you decide what idea you're going to settle on and use, how you adapt that idea as you're going through the process. It's a huge skill building, and teamwork is really at the heart of it, as well as, you know, the creative process and project management skills. So next slide, please. And I really believe this, imagination and creativity will change the world, not just can, but will change the world, because it already has. Right? Just think of this stuff that's been invented even in the last 10 years. You know, the internet isn't a baby. Right? Look what happened. You know, in the late 90s, it was a project for the academic world and the Army in the US. And now it's, you know, some of it's filled with junk, but it's a pretty amazing tool. But it's come in a very short period of time from something that was so specialized to something that's useful for everybody. So what is Destination Imagination? Open-ended challenges for kids in kindergarten to grade 12, and there are university teams, not too many in Canada, more so in the US. It's STEM-based, science, technology, engineering, and math. Plus, we have 2 arts-based challenges and 1 about service learning, so that the kids can choose a community group or a charity or some need in their community and create something for that group as well. So there's probably something in one of these challenges that would appeal to just about any kid. The Rising Stars is a little bit different for the younger kids in K to grade 2, 3, depending on it. It's a little broader based, and we give them 1 challenge to work on. But they're always interesting themes. This past year was about mapping, and you had to tell a story about why you were changing direction on a map and the pieces on a map. Because even though we have GPS, we know it's not good for our brains because you don't think about where you're going, you don't watch for landmarks. But if you learn how to use a map properly, it's an effective tool you can always use. Ask those guys who got lost on the weekend. So the next one, please. So the future, because we don't really know what's going to happen, but one of the things we've discovered over time is that 65% of kids in school today are going to be in jobs that haven't been invented. The world is changing drastically all the time. And so this is what this program really fosters, is that ability to be fluid and fluent and able to change, to react, to respond, and to change, because that's what we need. 60% of CEOs, and these were mostly the big guns at places like IBM and so on, were polled about 2 years ago, and they cited creativity as the most important leadership quality. Because you've got to see beyond your parameters today, what the future's bringing, where you're going to go. And again, this program does that for kids. It sounds really like a big thing, but it's really something that's really at the heart of this program. It's helping kids free that thought process. Next one, please. So this is what the program teaches overall, higher order thinking.
It's not me, it's not my fault.
I know, I do whatever.
I don't know why it is that.
Creative and critical thinking, not criticism, but critical thinking, looking at ideas and really taking them apart and figuring out how this is going to best work. Exploring the curiosity. So it's really about the new things in the BC curriculum about inquiry-based learning, because that's exactly what this program is about. Exploring curiosity, being free to ideas and looking at things in a different way. Building on each student's unique skills. One of the processes we go through, and we go through the roadmap that we provide to each team, is there's a skill assessment for your students, and for your kids on your team. So they can go through it. We're always quite surprised at what we're actually really interested in. What we think we're interested in, what we actually are, in a little quiz like this is really revealing. Then you know who you've got in your team and where they might best fit. Because we want kids to take roles on in the team, and that's part of the learning process. And the roles will change as they go through the process of their creation. But it's really a great way for kids to do a little bit of self-assessment and be open to thinking, oh, didn't think I was interested in math, but oh, it kind of points me in that direction. So there's some interesting things in that. Project management skills. Again, project management is a huge field and growing all the time. And so this helps students take from that, here's what we're going to work on and how we get to the tournament where we show off our hard work and all of the steps it takes to get there, and how you go back and you assess and you go forward and you go back and you keep working on it throughout. So it really teaches some very strong skills that are great skills to know no matter what course you're taking, because everything involves project management. And then the thing that I like the best is it teaches kids respect for each other's ideas. You're working in a group, you're collaborating. You have to give ideas and you have to receive ideas. And so if you're respectful of others' ideas, you build a better mousetrap at the end of the day because you have respect for each other. So it has a strong factor in that as well, typically to reduce bullying in school. Because now you're learning to understand that people have good ideas. And you never know where the best ideas are going to come from. So you're more open to being receptive to people's ideas. So next one. So these are two of the kids who have presented at Globals. It's not a great picture on here. These are two brothers. One's in grade 2 and one's in grade 5, I think. Anyway, they got up there. They were the first kids on the first day at 8 o'clock in the morning, and up they got, and they did their improv challenge. It was really great. So your teams solve these open-ended challenges, and then what we want them to do is come to tournaments to show their hard work, to show what they've done. We have teams of appraisers who look at their work and give them comments on their work, positive comments on their work. They're marked. It's scaled at the end so that there's a bell of marks on it. But it's a great way for kids to get legitimate, authentic response to their work and thoughtful response to their work. So our appraisers are very familiar with each challenge. They spend the whole day looking at the specific challenge they work on, so it's even across the board. We clump them into the age and grade levels so that it's as even as possible, so they get a chance to look at all the middle level kids, for example, and assess them that way. Because we're always being assessed, whether we like it or not, it's some way or another. But our appraisers are really good at it, and they give the kids good, legitimate feedback. Oh, we really like this. Oh, where did you come up with that idea? Oh, who came up with this? That kind of thing. Because part of the question was also to find out if parents have been interfering. Because the other beauty of this program is we make all the parents and team managers sign a non-interference line. Because it's really important that this is the student's work. The parent team managers or teacher team managers are there to guide the process, but not provide the answers. They're there to give some skills. You would never give a kid a power saw and just turn them loose. You would have someone teach them how to use it safely, or sewing, for example, because they're going to make their own costumes. You would give them the skills about how to sew, but you're not going to sew the costume. And you're not going to tell them what it's going to look like or what materials to use. That's up to the kids to do. So this is really and truly their own work. There is no dad's volcanoes at this. Because we've all been to science fairs where that's a pretty good volcano, Dad. So these are all the things that they're always working on throughout: conflict resolution, critical thinking, collaboration, project management, as I mentioned. And we'll talk about the challenges in just a second. So if we can go to the next one. One of the things that we really focus on in this is the creative process. How you go from an imaginative idea, to an actual something at the end of it. And what the process is. So these are sort of the basic steps. And again, it's not linear. You start with recognize, what are we asked to do in this challenge? So for example, coming up next year, and I've got some of these to leave with you. Let's give you a hard one. Let's talk about the one that we're calling In It Together this year. This is an engineering challenge. We always have an engineering challenge in there. So the learning outcomes are structural engineering and construction, weight distribution research, material science, global competence. Points of interest on this. They have to design, build, and test multiple freestanding structures that work together. Develop a strategy for placing structures to support as much weight as possible. So there's always a limit about it. We have a structure testing gizmo that we set up and weight plates to put on it. So there'll be a limitation on how big this thing can be and how high it can be and how much it weighs, quite typically. Develop and present a collaborative solution to a global issue. Create and present 2 team choice elements that highlight the team's interests, skills, areas of strengths, and talents. So again, you're going to bring your team's talents to the table as well. And that can be everything from the costume designs. It could be who designed the structure. It could be costumes. It could be, we've seen structural ones, including dance, including original songs. So you take this and take it wherever you want to go with it, right? So it's not just build this thing, put a bunch of weights and you're done. You've got to have a story about it. You've got to create a scenario around why this thing is put together, and what the weights are going to do, and how you integrate that into the story. It's your bonus points. So you have to be thinking beyond just the structure. It has this whole envelope of ideas that you have to put into it. So we'll leave that with you overnight so you can ponder what you're going to build at some point. So that's the kind of thing we ask for. So here's your parameters. There's probably 3 things you actually have to do. The rest is up to you. It's not that scary. It's actually quite amazing. But within this process, so you recognize, oh, so what are we going to build here? Structures that work together. I mean, there's way more detail than what I've given you here. So you're going to get the kids together, do some brainstorming. Oh, well, what kind of structures? How big can they be? What can they be made out of? What materials are allowed in the thing? Because it says you can only use this and this. Well, maybe that's all you can use. And sometimes it's really open-ended. There's no list of materials. But it can only weigh X. You know, I think the last one was 175 grams. Kids had 900 and some odd pounds of weight on them. Wow. Yeah, you'll be blown away. You will be blown away. So you get your team brainstorming, thinking of ideas, throwing ideas out, how are you getting a plan together, where are we going to go with this? Then you start to narrow down your ideas into something feasible. Then you start to collaborate. Well, I think this might work. Well, I think this might work. Put them on a board, put them on a post-it notes, rearrange these ideas so it comes to something. Assess where you're at. Oh, okay, well, we've got 4 more weeks and we don't have a final costume design. We've got to get going on that. So the kids take charge of the timeline of the work and how they're going to do the work and how they work together. So they're forever going back to assess where are we at, how much time have we got, what do we need, what's the next steps, that type of thing. So as they're doing this creative process, they're employing the project management skills as well. So it really brings all of these skills together. Evaluate as you're going through. Is this the best thing? Are we having issues with stuff? Is this working? You know, there's going to be lots of trial and error. And this is about how to fail effectively, right? So you don't get crushed by not having it perfect the first time out. Because resilience is a big deal. It's hard to be resilient. It's hard to bounce back when you thought, oh, we got it perfect. And it doesn't work the way you all envisioned. You got to go back. Reassess, where are we at? What can we do better? How can we make this up? What improvements do we need for it? So it's a really good process. And so the kids go, okay, well, we'll try plan B. Well, we'll plan C, plan B. It doesn't, you know, you're not only going to do it one way, which in today's world is really important. You have to be fluid today. So you're evaluating at the end, then you celebrate. Okay, it works. We're coming to tournament. We're going to show off this hard work. We want people to see what we've done. Because so much of what we do in school for kids is quite private. you know, the teacher sees it, you might do a small presentation in your class, but you don't get a lot of feedback, right? So this is a way for kids to show off their work. You know, if your kids are in dance classes or music recitals, they get an opportunity to do that sort of public display of what they're working on. So this brings that aspect to it as well. It sounds kind of daunting, but it's actually really fun because everybody who's there is in the same boat. All the kids at the tournament have gone through this process. They're bringing their thing to show. They come and watch each other's presentations, cheer each other on, and have fun with them. So you get your marks, and yeah, you might be on top of the world, or you might be in the middle of the world. But you've accomplished something, and you've achieved a goal that you all set for yourself collectively. Really important. So we come to tournaments to celebrate, and that's what we like to talk about when we're at our tournaments. So let's on to the next one. So this teaches flexibility, which is one of the key factors in work today and going forward into university, whatever you're going to do in life. You've got to be more flexible than we used to be, right? You've got to be able to shift your thoughts, think about abstract concepts, because a lot of this is quite abstract. When you turn it loose to people to come up with ideas and come up with solutions, it becomes really abstract. But you're creating something concrete at the end. So it's a wonderful way to get kids to change their perception of things. Opens kids to possibilities that they never thought. When I saw some of the work at Globals in the what we call Pace of Change this year, they had to create a vehicle that would carry a team member across the floor a certain distance on a propulsion method. Then the vehicle had to change the propulsion method and come back. And the more times you went back and forth, the more points you got. You should have seen some of these contraptions. They had pulleys, they had things that walked across the floor, they had things that bounced on stuff across the floor, they had sliding things, they had all kinds of leaf blower motors going. They had, you know, it was amazing. Because we get to walk through the props room at the back, and the stuff is like, where did you come, and how did you get it here either? You know, some of the stuff is great. I mean, our St. George's team brought a geodesic dome, like just the outline of one that they created. I didn't get to see their whole presentation, but it was pretty good. So that's the kind of stuff, you know, so it becomes, you're open. You're just going to let her go and see what you come up with. Open to new ideas, and then you build on each other's ideas. So again, that's that collaborative piece that you're, oh, that's a good piece. Well, let's add this to it, and we'll add this to it, and boom, you've got something quite spectacular. So that, to me, is one of the other key factors of this. So on to the next one. So again, you're using your imagination. You know, first of all, create a mental picture. What is this? Because you really need, one of the things we want to see is innovation. So we want new stuff, new ways of thinking. Sharing your ideas and using something, you know, taking something and using it in a new way. So we'll talk about that in just a second, about how we get to that piece of it too. And then fluency of ideas. It's the best part about this is learning how to really brainstorm, because we tend to think, oh, I've got the idea, and then that's where we stop. This gets kids to stop thinking. Like, throw out 1,000 ideas, thousands, and they can be crazy, and the wilder and the weirder and the more wonderful, because at the end of it, that is going to inspire the thing you guys want to work on. And that's what I love about this as well. So you're looking for quantity to start with, and not so much the quality, looking at multiple answers. How did that kid come up with the walking thing, you know, like, and the pulleys, and somebody else had one that was powered by giant rubber bands. Somehow when they lifted it on one side, it would reset the bands, and then they'd scoot across the floor and they'd break as they get to the end. It was wicked. You know, obviously I had way more fun than the kids did. So on to the next one. So again, about creativity, it's productive, producing something new. And there's no wrong answers. There really is. So it frees us to think. Really not about outside the box, because there isn't a box. We think about it, there's no box on these things. You're going to have to do some certain things on each of these. There's some stuff you have to do, but beyond that, away we go. And that's what I like about this too. Well, there's their geodesic dome. That's the St. George's team. So again, project management skills. The teams choose their challenge. We'll talk about the timeline for how this works. They set up their project timeline. What do we have to do by when? Divide the tasks, you know, based on some of these self-assessment tools. Take responsibility for their own tasks. A, that's a tough one. Monitor their project, come back each week or, whenever they're going to meet. Okay, where are we at? Who did what? What else do we need to do? What are we missing? And of course, the goal of this one is nice because there's a deadline. You're coming to tournament at the end of February. You got to be done. You got to be ready to go. So there's an actual deadline to it. And, again, we really want to see the teams come to the tournament. It really makes it fun for the kids, and it gives them that completion date. And what we do is we have regional tournaments. We'll have one at Kwantlen Park Secondary is the regional tournament for sort of Fraser region. And then we have a provincial, which is, so that's the end of February. And then the provincials will be at Kwantlen Park again, just because they're a nice school, and in April. So those are your goals. And we invite everybody back from the regionals to come to provincials because you've had your assessment, you've got feedback on what you've done, you can tweak it now. You can look at where maybe you weren't as strong, work on that, and bring it back. And then the top 3 teams typically qualify to get to the global tournament, which, sorry, I can't pay for. So that's kind of the gist of the project management skills on this. So I just want to talk about some of the students we have who are now graduating from the program this year. So Matthew Black, and this is what he sent to me about his role, his life in DI. He goes to school at Mark R. Eisfeld Secondary in Courtney Comox area. He started the program 4 years ago, and as he said, he was so shy, he said one line, because everybody in the presentation has to participate in some way. They have to say something or be someone in the thing. One line. And you should see this kid now. I mean, he led their presentation this year. And they created an app for their school to help kids get to stuff on time. When the clubs were meeting, homework assignments, all that stuff. So their team of 4 kids created an app. So they launched it in the school in the beginning of February. They're a bit late. And 300 kids signed on immediately. And now there's 3 high schools. But this kid went from shy to this little powerhouse. So he won a scholarship from Destination BC this year. He won one at the Globals. The DISC scholarship, they call it. He also won a DI marketing scholarship from Global, so now he's at $3,000 just from this program. And his team placed 4th this year. Not only that, right after he finished provincials with us, he also was in the Skills BC. I don't know if you guys are affiliated with them in any way. They're sort of trades and technical stuff. So each year they do their big provincials, which is huge and amazing. And he was in the web design thing, and he won that. So we wrapped up this, they went on to, here's this kid that was so shy in grade 8 and now in grade 12. He's running his own web design business. He's going to take 2 programs at 2 different universities in Ontario. So not every kid gets there. I love these kids. I just go to the next one. And this is Anisha Chima, who also won a DISC scholarship this year. She goes to York House, and she's been doing DI since she was in kindergarten. And so she's in grade 12 this year. And her dad, Chamkar, has been the team manager all along. He's also on our board, so he has way too much time in his hands. And she's, again, these kids just are amazing. And, from her, it's unconventional, but it's the unique approach to learning and personal growth. This has obviously helped her all through her school years to be a better student. Because, again, she's like one of these unstoppable young people who has a blog and, has gone off to all kinds of different projects through school and through her personal life. So it can really give kids some skills that they don't typically get at school in a collaborative way. So that's quite an interesting. These kids are amazing. When you meet kids who've gone through the program, they are a bit different. They're well spoken. I met a group at a school in Langley at Alex Hope School, and they have 3 teams that are in the gifted program. They pull the kids out. So one of the teams went to Globals last year as 11-year-olds. So they were helping the 2 younger teams, what it's like and what you do in terms. These 12-year-olds were so sophisticated in their approach, and that they were so gracious with the younger students that they were meeting with that day. I was just blown away by it. They were, outstanding kids. So when we had the tournament, and it was busy, and I'm like, okay, we have 10 minutes. I need somebody to do something. You guys get up there. And so off they went, and they got the kids doing all kinds of fun stuff. So it gives, you know, it's that whole, it's a really interesting skill set that kids get from this program beyond the presentation skills that they also get. So that's some of ours. So here's our team who won first place this year from York House. You can tell by their faces. I thought they were going to explode. They were so excited. So how do you get your child involved? Team manager, you can become a team manager. In our packages that you receive, and they will look different next year, is the roadmap book. And this is your roadmap, your Bible for the program. It's step by step how to do this. So, you know, while you can, teachers do a great job with it, and so do parents. It's really about your kids. It's about facilitating this group for them. And this thing has some terrific work in it. Some really helpful tools to use and how to help keep your team on task. It is hard work. I'm not going to kid you. It is hard work. But anything we do for our kids that's valuable is hard work, because that's what it is. And, you know, when I describe it to my grown-up kids, they're like, why didn't we get to do that? I would have had to do this, but, you know. So the other thing, you can host a team at home, or as you were saying, you can host them here at school in this space. You know, there's some flexibility around that. Like, there was all kinds of vehicles down at Globals with DI. Glad DI's over, I can get my garage back. You see pictures of the whole living room covered in paper mache stuff and whatever. And it's a way for you to share your skills or your family skills or friend skills. So you can incorporate that into it as well. So if you have a particular interest, their team manager, Anna, is an actor. And so she's been able to share her love of acting and her skill around acting with the team and it shows. You have to feed them. You always have to feed kids. That goes without saying. And again, understand the rules of interference. And we talk about them quite clearly. You're guiding, but you can't give them any answers. If you accidentally give them an answer, they can't use it. So if they come to you and say, we can't figure out how to put these two boards together, and you go, we could nail them. Well, now they can't nail them. You have to come up with something else, right? And that's, again, you would say to me, then you have to learn to pose the open-ended questions. Well, how do you think you could put them together? What things would put things together? Some kids will say chewing gum, and you'll go, fine, chewing gum, see how that works for you. So you have to let them also experiment, too. So it's really hard. You have to bite your tongue.
Is there dynamics, group dynamics?
Yep.
Like a little bit there on
Conflict resolution. Yeah. Because you're going to have that. Yeah, you're going to. We offer team managers training in the fall when we get most of our teams set up. So last year we brought up Johnny Wells from the US, who's been with the Texas organization and they have thousands. Their school system went crazy and loves this program and supports it. So he's been everything, team manager, appraiser. So now he's working for the main DI group, and he comes and does workshops and education. So he's really about the education factor that's so important with this. And but he was flat out honest with everybody. He says, you're going to hate them sometimes because they're not very cooperative always, you know, they're cranky and they don't want to do stuff. And so, you know, you have to let the group do their work, but there's some great skill building in here, and there's some great help for team dynamics, because we know, as we've all worked in teams over our lifespan, how difficult that is. But we have some good things for that. We also have lots of access to blogs that are from our DIHQ, and this is people from all over the world contribute to the blogs. So you're going to get ideas from all over the place. And we can always connect you with other team managers, because that's what I like to do, network people together, because then they have more success too. So we try and do that for our team managers, but we do offer evening or afternoons training for the team managers. So we hope that you can come, or we do it remotely as well, so we can keep as many people engaged. And we have lots of team managers who've been at it for a long time. So if you're ever in a difficulty, call me and I'll connect you with someone who has more experience, who can help you, walk you through any challenges that you have. Because, you know, the ones who've done it for a long time, they've seen them all, and they're very helpful, and they like to pass on their knowledge to you too. So
what is your area that you cover?
I cover BC.
Okay.
So, but the bulk of our teams are in the Lower Mainland. You know, I'd like way more out in this area because, you know, Surrey's growing. The whole neighborhood out here is huge. We need more teams here. Vancouver teams, lots of teams in Vancouver. We have a big bunch on the island and the Courtney Comox area because their school district was very keen for us. Their superintendent's now moved to Richmond, so I think we'll be picky. So it's one of these things that when we get people engaged in it and they enjoy it and they have fun with it and their kids are having success with it, they stick with it because it is really an interesting project for your kids. And it can be, you know, because a lot of your kids are homeschooled, you have time flexibility that kids in a classroom don't necessarily have. So it's a great way for them to learn to connect with other kids and work in a team because that's important for where we're going to go as this world keeps changing on us. It's like standing on slippery sand, isn't it? Here we go. So how to start your team? You need an adult team manager, 2 to 7 kids per team. At least 2, no more than 7. And we have the age ranges there. So Rising Stars preschool through K, but I'd go to 2, grade 2 in that one. And then elementary, I'd go grade 3 to 5. Younger than that, they struggle, although, you know, it depends on the kids because some are ready and some are not. Middle level, grade 6 to 8, and secondary is grade 9 to 12. And then university is anybody in full-time university. So you register your team on our website, destinationimagination.ca. You can start now. I send out the packages and a team number for you in September when I get them. I mail them out to the teams. You work with your team and pick the challenge that they want to work on. So it takes time for them to read through it and mull it over and figure out what they like and what they don't like and that kind of thing and what they're going to go for. And then you meet more or less weekly and maybe more often as you get closer to term. But if you're able to assign, you're not assigning, the kids are assigning the tasks themselves. And if they can stick with it, with your guidance, that will help. And you know, they come back to the meeting, they've accomplished whatever tasks they were supposed to in the imaginary world of perfection. That's what it works like. But you know, we find that the kids like to be together too, because it becomes really fun as they get going. Once they're getting into it more, and so they tend to want to move on. So, but it's about, at the minimum, about 2 hours a week on the team manager's behalf, because you need some time to go get your materials organized, plan, you know, read through kind of what you want to do that week, where they're at, so that you're prepared for it. You know, enlist the other families to bring the snacks or whatever, and then get the kids in about 90 minutes for the kids, like younger kids shorter, older kids about 90 minutes to get through the work. Because and the interesting thing about this, there's really actually 2 pieces to it. There's the team challenge. So when they come to tournament, the team challenge is 8 minutes. So they have to create all this stuff, and it's 8 minutes from you're standing here on the sideline, 8 minutes, bring all your backdrops, your props, your costumes, ta-da. It's from that moment to 8 minutes. And amazingly, the kids are pretty much bang on time because they spent a lot of time rehearsing, so they're prepped well for it. So they're not great long things, but some of them were so absorbing you could have watched for hours. So 8 minutes typically. The other piece of it is what we call our instant challenges. And these are mini problem solvers. And again, they're 5 to 7 minutes on length. Teamwork, you're handed some stuff, you're handed some materials, and you're handed a challenge. You have usually a minute or 2 to talk about it before you touch any of the materials, 5 minutes to do it, whatever it's going to be, and then you're assessed on that. And the instant challenge is often the trickiest piece of this whole thing. Because everybody gets absorbed with making the costumes and backdrops and props, and they forget to practice. But these are a really effective tool and a great way to start your group working together is to work on instant challenges. So they come in 3 forms. There's a performance-based, there's task-based, and then there's a combination. So you might have to build something and tell a story about it. And they run the gamut. You know, there's lots of examples in the roadmap book, and I have booklets with 50. I've got 5 booklets with 50 instant challenges. No, I did not write them. Somebody else got to do that. I'm just piggybacking on somebody else's good work because I don't have all the best ideas. But instant challenges are a lot of fun, and they're quick. They're a great way to break ice. They're a great way to get kids thinking quickly and working quickly. And these are assessed at tournaments as well. So you're assessed on your teamwork, and then there'll be some sort of point system, and it's all laid out for you what the point system will be. It's the tallest, it's the widest, it's whatever it's going to be, most creative. So this is where you start getting kids to think about materials in new ways. When is a paperclip not a paperclip? What else could a paperclip be? Come on, spit it out. You know what it is.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can use it instead of wire, just regular wire.
Ta-da.
Just
Yeah,
tie something
exactly.
up all the time.
Yeah, so things could be a connector, they could be a lengthener, they could be measurement, absolutely. You could do all kinds of stuff with that paper clip that's now not a paper clip. Or it could be, depending on what you need. So you begin to think about materials in a new way. That you go, oh, I thought of a straw as, you know, there's lots of stuff. The beauty of this program is it's not expensive. The materials we are able to give to you for free normally would be $125 US. But we have a gaming grant, so keep gambling. So we're able to give the materials free to all the teams that want them. So that's where we come in from that end. Most of the instant challenge stuff's dollar store stuff. So a massive box of dollar store junk. Straws, craft sticks, chenille sticks, pipe cleaners, paper clips, mailing labels, you know, that stuff that's in the junk drawer, all that stuff can come in your treasure chest. So that's not expensive. Each of the challenges also has a budget. So there's some stuff that's excluded. So for example, if you're running sound with your presentation, the computer you run the sound off of does not come into your budget, right? So you can have some of those technical things. But you know, if the budgets are like $150. So this does not mean that the wealthy schools win because they have access to more material and more money. It helps to keep it a bit more egalitarian. But you know, common, I call it garbage. Somebody says, no, it's recyclables. You know, cardboard, newspaper, that doesn't have a price on it. But it could be used stuff. And you have to put a garage sale price on it. Or if you're going to use a piece of equipment, for example, a lot of them use lawn leaf blower things for motors. Well, you would put a rental price on that, but it has to be legitimate, right? So, I saw some that were as little as $50, some that were the full price of $150. So it's US, so we actually get a big bonus because. Hey,
works in our favor.
For change, right? So that's, you know, so that's kind of, you know, so we try, it's really aimed so that as many kids as possible can participate. So again, we do charge a fee for the tournaments because there's costs attached to the tournaments, you know, school rental fees and insurance and all that sort of stuff. So that's what we have. So that essentially that's it. Global finals, it's really your dime, unfortunately. I am busily looking for money. One day, $300,000. Everybody gets to go for free, but we'll take 2 years to get there. So
What are the tournament fees? Just welfare?
$50 or $60. They're not expensive. So
Per student?
per team.
Per team.
Per team, yeah. And they're usually like Quantum Park is a great big secondary school, and we get them to open the cafeteria on that day, so there's food available because this isn't all day extravaganza. So we start with an opening ceremony, and kids come in with a parade, and then go off to do their challenges, and so they do their team challenge and an instant challenge, and then we have a closing ceremony at the end of the day, hand out some ribbons and medals and stuff like that. It's a lot. It's noisy, trust me.
Are the global finals always in the same place?
Yes, they're always in Knoxville, Tennessee. Everybody goes, why on earth are they in Knoxville, Tennessee? They formed a relationship with the University of Tennessee, which is huge. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous campus. And then they work with the students and the city of Knoxville, put the whole show together. And they run it there for several years. So you can well imagine there's 8,000 kids plus parents. So there's about 17,000 people roaming around Knoxville. Where are we now? What time is it? We have to be somewhere. So it's a big deal. And they feed everybody, so they put a package together. So the accommodation meals, you're either put up in the dorms or hotels in town. They have shuttles that run all day, every which direction to get kids everywhere. They have all day, the kids do their challenges. And then in the evening, there's also entertainment for the kids right after dinner. There was an international block party where you could go get different food from different countries. There was a duct tape ball, which is always, I think, because everybody makes their costumes out of duct tape. There's some pretty amazing stuff in that. Yeah, it is. And there's there's a thing under the stars, and they brought in a group called Step Africa. That was kind of, I don't know if you remember Stomp, mustard it's kind of that kind of an idea, and they taught the kids sort of a thing. There's lots of color and entertainment. They're the big deal. When you come to ours, they're color and entertainment. Not color and entertainment. But it, so it gives kids that whole sense of being a community of kids around the world. And that's what's really interesting, because the kids in China are doing the exact same challenges. And kids from K to grade 12, or 3 to grade 12, are all working on these same challenges. They're the identical challenge. Right? So how grade 3 to 5 group interprets it is really different than grade 12. But we ask our teams to go look at every different level to see what work is going on. And it's instructive for the grade 12s to see what the grade 5s are doing too. And then they can think back where they've come in that journey. Because going through this process is a journey. There's no question about it, but it's a really fun one. So we'll just take so this is what Matthew said as well, because it's essential in our current world to solve problems. And we have lots of big ones. And where do these big ideas come from? The most unlikely sources, right? 2 guys created the internet in their dorm room. Hootsuite, huge, a fantastic platform for the crazy Twitterverse. 2 guys in Vancouver. People are forever inventing amazing things out there, and sometimes it's the most unlikely people that come up with these amazing things. So that's what we want these kids to get, that sense that anything's possible, pretty much. So these are the challenges each year. This is the gang from West Point Grey Academy, who's sitting there waiting to watch one of their teams perform in a few minutes. So we got them all to be completely disruptive. It was great fun. So each year they're technical, scientific, engineering, fine arts, improvisation, service learning, and the rising stars. So each year those are the headlines for all of them, and then each year we change them up. So what happens is right in July, there'll be a group of people coming together to write challenges for 2 years hence. And this is an international group. They come from, some of them will be content experts, there'll be educators, there'll be people who've been involved in the program for a long time. So for example, Andy Axelrod, who's been a challenge master for us for several years, she's in the fine arts world. She makes jewelry, that's her baby, that's what she likes to work on. And so she wrote the challenge that will be not this year, but next year. So there's a process for this that they do. So we had Chris Waterman was our international challenge master for the technical challenge this year. And so these are the people that watch over the year, because sometimes there can be issues with the way they're written. And so people can ask questions about it, and there's an online process to do that. And that was his job, was to go through it and answer the questions if things were not worded clearly enough, or they would see a pattern if there's some issues. So there's that aspect to it too. So these guys had a great time, and they had the craziest song that they would do before their teams would perform. It was hilarious. It was an old camp song. So here we are, global finals. This is our team standing there. We're looking down onto the floor where there's all the lights and smoke, and this is the arena at U of T that seats like, I don't know, 80,000 people. Their football arenas. Yeah. Not U of Toronto, I know, me too. Took me a while to get it, yeah. Their football stadium down there seats 140,000. Yeah, football is like gigantic. Everything in that town's painted orange. Everything. It's amazing. But it's a cool campus and very historic, and Knoxville's very historic. So essentially what you do, you decide, yep, I'm going to do this. Yes, this is going to be fun. I'm going to do this. So you sign up online, so I know that you're coming to do this. September, I ship the materials out to you. You organize your teams in October, pretty much, September, October. Again, 2 to 7 kids. How you choose your team is really up to you. It could be all friends. It could be, sometimes schools do an application process. If you've got 14 managers and 40 kids, okay, you're going to have to choose kids. So it's really, again, it doesn't say you can't, you probably can, but only 2 to 7 members. So each school does it a little bit differently. Ideally, I'd love to see every kid do this program, because I think the value proposition of it is so strong that sometimes we have to make selections. So it's up to you how you want to do your teams. And again, if you're puzzling over it, we can connect you with some people who've done this over the years who have some good ideas about how they've done it. Quite often, if it's a parent-led team, it'll be your kid and their 4 or 5 friends. You know, you want a compatible group, like makes life easier. But again, you want to think about the group. You want to look at, what do you want for your child out of this if you're going to be managing the group?
So basically, all of these challenges will consist of all those science, technology,
Some are more technical based.
and some.
Yeah, like the fine arts one this year was called Get a Clue. So they had to choose a time period before 1990. And they had to, holy cow, that was forever ago. For these kids, it was forever ago. They had to choose a time period before 1990. They had to create some sort of mystery. Something happened that they have to solve. So they had to create a technical clue and a technical solution. So it was fingerprinting. The kids who won in the middle level chose an Elizabethan theme, and they created something that would do, like these ball things that would dissolve in water, and in the balls was the slip of paper with the name of the guilty party on it. These kids are 11. I don't know how they came up with that.
So, in other words, we like to have kids who have, one is more bent arts, one more bent technology or science or.
Yeah. Although, we think,
building,
yeah, you want kids who are curious.
a
Variety of kids, yeah. And again, when you look through looking at some of the skill, the attributes, testing that we testing, but attributes and how you understand yourself too, you'll be surprised. People have lots of different interests, so they may be more scientific bent, but they may also love color, or may also love other things. So it's kind of that Renaissance thing.
I agree. I think like so many children, this would actually open up
Yeah.
something for them that
Yeah.
they might not have known. They could be like a dramatic person. Or,
Exactly.
now sciences are an interest because.
Yeah. So each of them brings some of that to it. Like the kids who do the service learning project quite often pick animals. But now they have to study about the animals. They have to understand the habitat, what challenge the animals are facing, what organization in their neighborhood or community is doing something with animals so that they can partner with them. So it's all of those things they still have to do. So they still have to do their research. They still have to be accurate. Like we did one on camouflage this year, the scientific. So you had to have an actual camouflage something. And then you had to create something that used the same kind of camouflage as the actual existing being. So now you have to do your research, and so you have to put those pieces together.
Those are like categories, right? So there's the art challenge or
Yeah, so there's a,
challenge.
yeah.
The art includes technology.
Yeah, so these are next year's.
There's a bit of mix.
There's a bit of a
Yes,
mix
in
of
each of
blend.
them. Yeah, so it's not just,
There's sort of one main theme, but those skills kind of all get mixed into that theme.
yes, yeah.
So
So
it's a technical challenge, but they're gonna need to do fine arts.
they're still going to have to have some sort of costumes. They're still going to have to write a story to make it make sense. They're still going to have to use the talent on their team in some specific way and highlight that when they bring it to the tournament. So if you've got kids who, and the talent can be anything. It can be dancing. It could be public speaking. It could be hats. It could be almost anything. So it's really open-ended that way.
The team generally will choose the challenge.
Yeah,
So the team gets together and talks, chooses which challenge category.
Yep, which of these they want to work on. And that can be a bit of a process itself. Because when you read the challenges, I mean, these are just the quickie overviews. You've read these. So they're a bit more complex.
They're pretty specific.
Yeah,
Like,
right. It gives you the overview of what the learning outcomes are. It gives you, and we just give you a couple of them. There's usually about 15 learning outcomes per challenge. So there's a lot of depth in these things. It's not a surface thing. There's a lot going on in these. Some of the things they're going to work on in the challenge. Talks about the budgeting. It talks about all this background stuff. And then this is what you're going to do. So it's quite detailed. It's well laid out in that sense. But, so the kids have to have a chance to look through this and picture what they picture themselves working on. So often teams end up kind of doing, if they're interested, if the kids who do fine arts typically do the fine arts ones. for 12 years. Although lots of them go off and do other ones. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that either. You know, we see the most unlikely kids doing the technical challenge. You know, so it's, I mean, that's a beauty. You don't, it opens their eyes and minds to the possibility. And that's what I think. Because we're never just one thing.
Can I ask
Sure,
I'd like a
absolutely.
few questions?
Yeah, no, please do.
Does the schedule of like the regional tournaments permit someone to be involved in more than one team?
You could be, and we have had that. I just have to know when I'm that your kids are on 2 different teams.
Yeah.
You could.
Right. You schedule the regionals?
Yeah. Yeah, there's me.
Yeah.
We have volunteers.
Right.
The reason is because the instant challenge, they would make a different instant challenge for the second team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they don't already know.
Yeah.
And you know, we do kind of divvy up the instant challenges so that there's different ones for the different team challenges as well. And we have and these have to be kept secret after the tournament, so that because they're the same ones that show up at. So we've got this year's little practice like that.
All right. Second question.
Sure.
Family groups are okay?
Yeah,
large
absolutely.
Families, you just want to do it in the home. Parent.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I've got 4 kids in
Absolutely.
grade K to 5.
Yeah. And that's fine. We did have a team this year. We have done it for several years, actually. One of the woman who runs the team teaches part-time in the school system, and it's all cousins. So the sisters and the cousins have a team. And they've done that for several years. And we've got lots of different teams.
So are the age groups, are they like, they're not, like, you couldn't have a kid in like grade 9 in the grade 8 category, right?
No.
Okay, so they're her
Yeah.
roles.
But
Yeah.
you could do it the other way around, right? Because I think we
You
talked
could-
about that.
you
Like,
could if
if
you
I
have-
have a kid who's grade 4 or grade 5, but there's some kids that are in the group that are grade 8, they can work with an older.
They can work with an older, but they'll be competing in the older age
Yes,
category. Good and bad.
yes.
Are they just the general, there's K to 5 and then the,
There's, I would go
Yeah,
3 to 5,
3 to 5?
6 to 8, and 9 to 12.
Right.
And when you get it, there's some birthday things in there as well, because we had kids who, it's sort of, the birthdays are all kind of in June. And so we had some kids that ended up, they had to bump up, because if one of your team members is in the older age group, the whole team has to go up. Yeah, so be careful. But, you know, competitive, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, another one is, I assume there's like a cutoff date for adding team members, like you need to,
Once we hit tournaments, yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So before that.
Oh yeah, you can chop and change your team because that happens too. Kids decide no, they don't like it or whatever. When you register for the tournament, that's your team.
Okay.
And so when you do the first round, that's your team and that's your team for the next one. You can have fewer kids come, but you can't have kids.
Right.
So when you come to provincials, you have to have the same kids. And from provincials to globals, you absolutely have to have the same kids.
Last one, are there practice instant challenges?
Mhm.
You do provide that, once you sign up, do you provide those?
There's tons in the books. I have little booklets for sale. You just Google instant challenges.
Right.
There's zillions of them.
Yeah,
And you can create your own too. They're fun. You know, it's fun to do that too. But we've got lots of suggestions for that. I mean, we've been doing these things for, and they're everything from, oh gosh, you won't believe it. The ones at the tournaments are more complicated usually than the ones you do at home. I don't know about you, but I didn't want buckets of water everywhere and moving, you know. So might not do that. Sometimes they have ladders and you have to hang stuff off them. So it's really about thinking about the world in different ways and stuff that you might not normally consider. You know, how do you balance stuff? How do you, have a block? You can stick it to a straw with a mailing label and you've got to hang as much weight off it without it touching the floor. Where do you go from there? We did one with kids at Seacoast Secondary, and they had to build a tower out of all this stuff. And then they had to put a feather on the top, and you had to blow the feather off in the farthest distance. I was like, oh, big deal. Well, surprise, surprise, feathers don't go very far, right? So it was like, poop. That's right. And then somebody didn't look at, they all work separately. These are a really competitive group. So they created the blow thing with a straw, and they actually had the feather in the end of the straw, and it went. Everybody else was collected on the top. So that's, so that there's a group that had never seen this, and one of them came up with probably the best solution. And you'd be surprised. But again, it's dollar store stuff, which is great. Recycle and reuse. And we're happy to come out and do workshops with your kids. So if you've got a bunch of them together and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, we could come and do an instant challenge workshop for them, just to kind of give them what it is and what the sense of it is, and you know what to do when you're there, and that kind of stuff, and how you manage it. And those are lots of fun. We could do them for teachers and adults too. You could do one now if you want. Yes, you should do one. Sorry, folks at home, you won't get to do this. But let's just give you guys, you can all work together with your 3, 7.
Can I just ask some questions?
Oh, yeah, go ahead,
Please
Rika.
do.
Sorry.
I need to go pretty soon. I just want a clarification on the cost. When you said that each challenge has a budget, then where does that money come from? Like, do parents just get told, okay, do we put in a certain amount at the beginning of the year for the cost of materials, or how does that get distributed?
Yeah, each team manages their budget on their own. The budget's outlined in each challenge. So I would suggest that if you're going to come to 2 tournaments, so that's $100 or $120, and then your materials for your challenge, you probably won't need money for that till January when you really get going on it, once your team has decided what they're actually going to make. And again, it can be stuff like newspaper, cardboard. The costumes don't have to be, they have to be creative, but they don't have to be expensive. And so your budget in that respect, cash outlay for a team could be less than $400, much less than $400.
For the whole team, and then that's divided evenly between.
Yeah, your team just decides how they're going to manage the, you know, what, and you know, you've got to have a bit of budget for snacks if that's how you're going to run it, or you know what you're going to do that way. So it's, you know, we try. I mean, it's really aimed to be as reasonable as possible. And so again, you might collaborate together to amass newspapers and cardboard and that kind of thing. And again, you can use dollar store stuff, you can use garage sale stuff. So we've had teams spend $50 on their challenge, but that's not all cash, right? They put, you know, a $10 costume because it was a use thing, or, you know, I saw it was the most amazing pleated newsprint skirts as a costume. They were beautiful, but it was newspaper. So that doesn't have a value on it as a cost, right? But the duct tape that they used to put them together did. So, you know, you have to, so that's, yeah, so each team would manage their own finances. I wish I had money to give to everybody, but one of these days, keep gambling. Corporate sponsors. Does that help?
Yes, definitely. And I had one other question. I noticed you talked about teams from different schools. So do these team meetings happen then after school, or are they at school? Does it like my kid is in a bricks and mortar school. I'm interested in having her involved in a team, but this team would not necessarily be connected to her school. It might be connected maybe through TLA and through TLA families. I don't know. Like, can you do that, or does it have to be associated with one school and all the students go to that school?
That's the beauty of this. Again, it's really flexible in that way. You could have community-based teams, you could have school-based teams, you could have parent-based teams, you could have, we're hoping to get some teams at places like neighborhood houses to get kids who don't have resources into the program as well. So, you know, you would have to work with, if you want to host the team for your child and get their friends and acquaintances involved, either at your school or through this organization, that's great too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to come to an agreement of when you're going to meet. If it's parent-led teams, it's typically weekends or early evenings or after school, depending on what everybody's schedule is like and what other 50,000 things your kids are in.
Thank you.
Okay. We hope you have a team.
So when you mentioned before that there are materials provided, what materials
This
are
is the
provided?
materials we provide you.
Okay.
So we also provide you team manager training. I'm always at the end of the phone or email, so I'm happy to answer questions whenever they arise. We can come and do workshops as well, and then we organize all the tournaments and that sort of thing. And, you know, we give you access to whatever information we get. And, you know, if I get deals on anything, or these days that dollar store is going to come through. So yeah, so the materials themselves, that booklet is 125 US. So keep gambling so we can keep it away.
And in terms of managers, so if there's at least one adult, but can there be other
Oh,
adults?
absolutely.
Like, it can be shared management.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
a problem.
Oh yeah, have a co-manager, sure. I mean,
Share the load.
Share the
2
load.
hours,
it's a lot of time. Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Prep time, you know, cleanup time, keeping them all like organized. Yeah, it can be quite challenging. So yeah, do incorporate, you know, people can take turns doing the co-leading part of it if you wish. You know, if you're going to do it at home, get everybody to sign in for a snack. I like to. So it's not all on your shoulders.
So whoever is going to be co-managing, we need to all sign that sheet.
Everybody does.
Have reviewers.
Yeah, it's
They all
not
go
just,
to the tournament as well. So just one.
No, no, we're happy to see it. If you've got two people managing a team, no, that's fine. Come.
How about even parents of just kids who are on the team?
Oh, they come to tournaments.
Everybody
Oh
comes.
yeah, we want everybody at the tournaments. We need audience.
Okay.
Plus, we need volunteers
yeah.
because this is a very volunteer intensive thing. So each of the challenges would have a team of 3 to 5 appraisers, a head appraiser. They would have a prep appraiser. So there's paperwork because you gotta have paperwork. So you come with your paperwork. The prep appraiser makes sure you've got all that stuff filled out. Then we have you are escorted in to do your thing. You have a timer announcer as well as another person who tells the audience who this is and what's happening, and they do the timing so that it's accurate. And then everybody marks their thing. So you've got 7 people pretty much for each challenge. Plus, the wayfinders in the halls and stuff. Plus, you have a score room. You amalgamate all the scoring information. And
those are all volunteers.
all volunteers. Yeah. So, when our families come, we ask you to send us a volunteer, certainly a volunteer in general, and an appraiser. It doesn't have to be the parent. It could be aunts, uncles, friends of the family, whoever. But, this is a volunteer intense organization. But the appraisers love it. They have fun. And we have appraisers who have been doing this long since their kids have long been out of it. And they've stuck with it. Because it's enjoyable. And it's a day for them, really. We have training for them as well. And then when they come to the tournaments, it's that day. So if you're one of our volunteer volunteers, we feed you lunch that day and we get either a shirt or something and that kind of stuff. And then, we hope that you'll do your regional tournament and also help. So it's not a huge time commitment as a volunteer compared to the team manager, but it's an important one. So that's why we ask every team to supply some volunteers as well. Because it won't work otherwise. There's not enough bodies in the world. It's about health. So, yeah. We're a tiny lean organization. 1.5 of us. And he has a real full-time job. Any other questions? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams,
Oh,
6 other
question.
teams. Hi.
Is that a question?
Sure.
Okay, so what skill set makes an ideal team manager?
Patience.
Um,
I think it's the same thing that makes an ideal teacher, coach, or parent. You've got to be willing to put the time in. Patience is a huge thing. It is. And you have to be able to bite your tongue and not give them the answer.
I was going to say,
That's a tough.
probably patient to be able to watch them
Fail.
fail, and not say anything. Just
Yeah, let them have at it. Because that's where the real learning takes place, right? You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It is. It's really challenging to be a team manager. It really is. But I think it's incredibly rewarding. My kids didn't do this, but they were all in sports and all that stuff. And luckily, I only got to be team manager. My husband coached them through everything. Coaching a team is a huge commitment as well. And when your kid's on it, you really have to button it up because, you can't be favoring your darling. That's not right? And you have to let them fail too. And it's hard. But yeah, I think parents get as much out of this program as the kids do as a team manager. I really do. And they've all told me, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work. It it was really fun at the end. You know, especially, you know, when you get them over that hump of now we're progressing and you get to see what they do, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And that's the amazing thing. And that's why being a team manager is hard work, but super rewarding. You have lots of kids though, don't you? You got little guys. Are you thinking about managing a team? Are you considering that?
Possible.
Great.
So do you have some feedback that you've gotten from previous team managers, citing some basic examples of some of the feedback they've given based on what did they enjoy, what did they like, what they felt they could draw from most, what really helped them?
Yeah. We do a team manager training so that we get people in a room and sort of give them the chapter and verse.
I've been on the web.
Yeah. So that's great. So we do that. I can connect you with other team managers. You know, if you're running into some difficulty with your group, I've got lots of team managers who have tons of experience, and we can always connect you with those people as well. What most people said was it was hard work. You know, it's hard to keep a little gang of kids focused, right? Who want to have fun. I met with a team in Prince George, and they are a gang of very, very bright kids, but almost all of them have attention deficit issues. You know, they accomplished it. They did it. They got to the end. They did their project. It was successful. They were so happy. So to get a group like that, that's really challenging to manage, to the end result was spectacular. You know, and really neat kids. Really, you could tell they're incredibly bright, but really distractible. You know, but they did it. They did what they were asked to do. And they did a good job with it. So they get a real sense of accomplishment, as do you. But you just have to learn to not give any answers. I think that's what everybody says is the hardest, is to watch them, you know, work hard but struggle sometimes and not get along. And there are days when you're not going to like them either. They're not going to be wonderful. But you know down the road they're wonderful next. You're all parents. I don't have to tell you that. Any other questions? Sure.
A team manager can manage more than one team.
Sure, we have lots. Some of the teachers do manage more than one team at the school because they've got a system for it. But we have had parents manage more than one team. I wouldn't do it with younger ones. I would only do it with high school. Middle school kids, I think would be more inclined to do it than them.
Could you do like a Rising Stars team and a 6 to 8 team?
Yeah, because Rising Stars is a little different. You know, they still have their role, what they're working on, but it's not as intense. We do love to see the Rising Stars come to tournaments because they're beyond cute. Cal River had 5 Rising Stars teams. Oh, they were adorable. Nobody wanted to be like, go away, we're good. But it's fun for them too because they're learning a skill that they don't normally get. They really have to, it's fun to watch. It's really fun. And we have appraisers who give them feedback on their hard work and, you know, look at the work that they've done and tell them how wonderful it was and stuff. Yeah, it's neat.
And that one I understand that the parents can be a little more
Oh, yeah,
involved
yes.
because
It's
it's not totally
a little
hands off.
boring,
Yes.
Yeah, because they're pretty, you know,
They're
they're
pretty
still
young for
learning
research.
everything, you know, like they, some of them have little scripts and, you know, one's reading is pretty good. They have to read the script for everyone and they're kicking each other to remind them to do what they're supposed to do next. So it's quite a difference.
Managing their budgets and their time.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not quite good. But after they've done a Rising Star, they've picked up some skills, right,
Yeah,
that they can take with them. So, you know, yes, you can do it. Yeah, you can. It's just twice as much work. Or twice as much fun, depending on how you like this kind of stuff, right? So it's a good thing. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. Good.
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh, at least. Yeah.
So do you want to try a challenge? Come on. All right, we'll do a quick mini one. So you can stand up. And you can work on this table. This is a nice fun one. This is quick. Let me get my stopwatch out. We always have stopwatches.
Okay, who's left here?
Come on over. You need to be on both sides because you need to work together.
Oops.
We need to be around the table to
Stop
do that.
share.
That's a good time to chat a little bit.
Yes.
And then we have to
Michelle, are you still there?
Okay. So what you're going to do.
I'll be the team leader and not give any. Practice.
I'm going to stop the recording now, Michelle, but I'll leave it open in case you want to watch people do an instant challenge.
Okay.